So this is a diagram that we color together in class, but I wanted to do a video so that we can kind of sort of color it along the different parts of the heart, because whenever you look at diagrams of the heart, there's a lot of stuff going on in here, and sometimes it's a little hard to track how blood moves through the heart. So I really think that coloring this diagram and labeling this diagram together is really helpful for students. So I guess essentially follow along as I color along. I'm going to tell you some stuff from the PowerPoint slide. We'll label some things, and really the goal of this is to follow the movement of blood through the heart. So you're going to need 2 colored pencils. I don't recommend using blue. Stay away from the color blue. And the main reason for that is because blood in humans is never blue. And you'll see it in diagrams where they use red for your oxygenated blood, so your arteries, and they'll use blue for your deoxygenated blood in your veins. And a lot of people think that deoxygenated blood is blue in humans, and that is not true. Deoxygenated blood in humans is more of like a maroon color, a really like almost purplish red, and oxygenated blood is very bright red, like fire engine red. So in order to try and continue to break that myth, I'm going to use red for my color, and I'm going to use green for my other color. And then I also have a pen to help with labeling. So you can use colored pencils or whatever you have. If you don't have 2 colored pencils, it doesn't matter. You can use crayons, you can use markers, you could use a blue pen and a black pen, or you could just shade with one color and leave the other color white. It doesn't matter. But you do need 2 different colors or 2 different pens or 2 different crayons. So I just want to point out a couple things first with diagrams of the heart. So diagrams of the heart in pictures, they're always represented backwards. And what I mean by that is the left side of the heart is on the right side of the paper, and the right side of the heart is on the left side of the paper. So they're flipped. So like, for example, this right here is the right atrium, because it's on the left side of the paper. This is the right ventricle. This is your left atrium. This is your left ventricle. So you have to think of it as you're looking at a patient, their heart standing in front of you. Or if you were to take this paper and, hold it up to yourself, it would be on, your left side would be on the left side and the right side would be on the right side. So you just have to keep that in mind when you're looking at diagrams. The right side of the heart is on the left side of the paper, and the left side of the heart is on the right side of the paper. So that does trip students up a lot. And nobody ever really comes out and tells you that. Like, textbooks don't come out and tell you that. So I'm coming out and telling you that. Be aware of that. Sometimes I've seen students have to hold up the picture onto their chest so that they can get the sides right. Or if you just imagine it's a patient laying on the table in front of you, it's their left and their right. So I just wanted to point that out so that when you go through the PowerPoint and you see it say in pictures the heart's backwards, that's what I mean by that. So the heart, it's a muscle, cardiac muscle, and the right side of the heart is divided by the left side of the heart by this wall of muscle called a septum. And the point of this muscle here is to prevent oxygen-poor blood from mixing with oxygen-rich blood. And the oxygen-poor blood is on the right side of the heart. The oxygen-rich blood is on the left side of the heart. So this wall of muscle here divides the heart into essentially 2 separate pumps. The heart has 4 chambers. You have the right atrium. You have the left atrium. These 2 chambers receive blood into the heart from 2 different places, either from the body or the lungs. Then you have the ventricles. You have the right ventricle here, and you have the left ventricle here. And ventricles pump blood out of the heart. And what you'll notice here is the right ventricle has very thin walled muscle, Whereas the left ventricle has very thick muscle. Look how thick it is down here. This is the point of the heart. It's called the apex, by the way. Very thick muscle here. And that's because the left ventricle pumps blood to your heart, all the way down to your body, all the way down to your toes. So this side has to be very muscular because it's pumping blood up to your head, and it's pumping blood down to your toes. The right ventricle is pumping blood to your lungs, which are right next door. So you don't need a whole lot of muscles to pump blood to your lungs, since the lungs are literally right there. But you do need a lot of muscle to pump blood all the way down to your toes and to fight gravity and pump all that blood up to your brain. So your atria receive blood. The right atrium receives blood from the body. The left atrium receives blood from the lung. The ventricles, they pump blood out of the body. The right ventricle pumps blood to the lungs, out of the heart. The right ventricle pumps blood to your lungs, and the left ventricle pumps blood to your body. So we'll label those just so that you've got them labeled in there. So this one here, this is your right atrium. Right? This is your left atrium. Okay. This is your right ventricle. This is your left ventricle. Again, notice the left side of the heart is on the right side of the paper. The right side of the heart is on the left side of the paper. This arch here is called the aortic arch or aortic artery. It sends blood up to your head. That's what these three arteries are branching off to. They go up to your head there. So we might as well label that too. Aorta. Very big artery in the body there. So you have valves here too. There's valves here, and there's also a valve in here and a valve in here. The point of these valves is to prevent blood from going the wrong way. We don't want blood going backwards. We want blood to move through here and out to the body. Move through here and to the lungs. We don't want blood going backwards. So these valves, there's a valve here, a valve here, a valve here, and a valve here. Those valves prevent the backward flow of blood because we want it to move in one direction. If these valves don't work properly, obviously that's going to be an issue. You can get heart murmurs where the blood just kind of rolls around in here instead of moving through. And heart murmurs vary in severity. Some people may need to get valves put in. And I think I have a video on the PowerPoint of that. Other people are fine. They'll have the heart murmur their whole life. But we need these valves. They prevent blood from going backwards and moving in one direction. There's also valves in your veins too, especially in your legs, to prevent blood from going backwards since that blood has to fight gravity. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this particular diagram and we're going to color it together. And I think it'll really help show you blood flow through the heart. We should also label this too. This is that septum I was talking about there. I'm not going to label all the other arteries and veins, but you should know aorta. This is the pulmonary artery here. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. I think A for away. So arteries carry blood away from the heart, and generally all the arteries in the body carry oxygenated blood, except for the pulmonary artery, which is this one here. The pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. Veins carry blood to the heart, and generally they carry deoxygenated blood, except for these pulmonary veins here. They carry oxygenated blood. So for the most part, arteries carry oxygenated blood, veins carry deoxygenated blood, arteries carry blood away from the heart, veins carry blood to the heart. So I'm not labeling all these arteries and veins. Aorta is a big one. You should know that one. And you should know that arteries carry blood away from the heart and veins carry blood to the heart. But there's more of that in the PowerPoint. So let's start labeling and coloring. So let's start on the right side of the heart. So coming in here, I'm going to arrow. And you can make the arrow as big or whatever. You can color it. I don't care. Whatever. So this here, This is CO2 rich blood, oxygen poor blood. And the reason why this blood coming into the right atrium is carbon dioxide rich, oxygen poor blood is because it's coming from the body. So the body cells have used up all the oxygen in the blood, or a lot of it, and have dumped in CO2 from cells doing cell stuff into this blood. So this blood is coming from the body, so it's CO2 rich, oxygen poor blood, so it's going to be that deep dark maroon color. It's also coming in this way too. I mean, if you want to draw an arrow, this is the same blood coming in down here. This is CO2 rich, oxygen poor from body. This is coming from the bottom half of the body. This is coming from the top half of the body. Right? Then the blood moves through this valve here into the right ventricle. Okay? And then from the right ventricle, it heads out to the lungs. Right? So this goes to lungs. And technically it goes this way too. If you'll notice, two lungs, there's two branches here. Why do you think that is? Because you have two lungs. So you're going to have your left lung and your right lung. Again, I'm saying right and left on the wrong side of the paper because it's the patient's right and left. So this pulmonary artery, which is carrying blood away from the heart, is going to the lungs. This is deoxygenated blood. It's got to the lungs so that the lungs are magic, and that blood can be oxygenated and the CO2 can be released. So what we'll do is we'll color this side. I'm going to use green. So this side is all representing, and I'm going to color kind of fast. You can, whatever. You can go as neat or not as neat as you want. But it's really just to show that you'll see very visibly once we color this in, that one side of the heart deals with deoxygenated blood. That's the side we're working on right now, the right side. And the other side of the heart deals with oxygenated blood. And it really is two completely separate pumps from one another, which is pretty wild when you think about it. So I'm going to color this green too because this is deoxygenated blood here. I'm not coloring, this is a cutaway of the heart. I'm not coloring the muscle. I'm just coloring the blood vessels and the chambers of the heart, where the blood would be moving through. I'm not coloring the muscle. And don't forget this side here. And I'm also going to make a key. Diagrams are really not helpful if you use two different colors and you don't create a key for yourself. So for me, just scribbling a little square there. Green equals deoxygenated blood. Okay. So you'll see now that the right side of the heart is deoxygenated blood. This blood is coming from the body. This bottom half. This coming from the top half of the body through the heart and being sent to the lungs so that it can be reoxygenated. Okay. So now grab your other color and we'll make a key. This is oxygenated. And this blood is oxygenated because it's coming from the lungs where respiration took place. So we're going to have blood coming in here through these pulmonary veins. This is the pulmonary artery here. These are pulmonary arteries. This is the pulmonary vein. So this is oxygen rich, CO2 poor, blood from lungs. And it's CO2 rich and oxygen rich and CO2 poor because it's coming from the lungs. And then I guess you should also add an arrow here because this is also coming. This is also O2 rich, CO2 poor from lungs. You can make yours neater than mine. Now, once that blood comes in from the lungs, it's going to move through this valve from the left atrium, into the left ventricle. Okay. And then from the left ventricle, it's going to leave and go to body. And essentially out here too. Right, so to body. Right? So now we'll just color that. So we're going to color, this is our oxygenated blood. Here. Right, coming in from the lungs into our left atrium. Here, which is much more muscular than the right atrium. Here. Much more muscular because it's sending blood to the body, fighting gravity, through this very, very, very large artery, the aorta. It's going to send that blood all the way to your toes and all the way up to your head. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could also add here, to upper body. It's going to be like your carotid artery and your jugular. Right? And this is also, and on this too. Okay. So now, if you step back, you really, 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 really can see that the heart has two completely separate pumps. Right? You've got your side that deals with, your right side that deals with your deoxygenated blood, which I did in green, and you've got your left side which deals with oxygenated blood. And I just think it's a very nice visual of the two separate pumps that the heart really is. And we've got our arrows showing blood flow. We've got our blood coming in from the body through the right atrium, right ventricle, and out to the lungs. And then we've got our left side, which is dealing with your oxygenated blood, which is coming in from the lungs, into the left atrium, into the left ventricle, and out to the body, so that your cells can get the oxygen that they need to do their jobs. So I think very nice visual of the heart doing its job, where your right side deals with oxygen-poor blood from the body, and that's called pulmonary circulation, by the way. And your left side of the heart deals with oxygenated blood. That's called systemic circulation. Systemic means it refers to lungs. Just think, really nice diagram. I do think you should color along, or at least follow along, so that you can see blood is moving through the heart.